This is a conversation with Celine Charlotte. She is a Dutch woman entrepreneur. She moved to Arizona and she has built several multi-million-dollar businesses. Celine actually started her first business in Amsterdam, where she rented out meeting rooms because she wanted to live in big apartments herself. In virtually no time, she scaled her first business from zero to a multi-million-dollar business. And she got companies as clients like Apple and Booking.com. Then she decided to teach other entrepreneurs how to build a company, and with this new project, a new online course, she has made more than $5 million in revenue with this new project. Isn't that amazing? So if you are starting a small business and if you want to scale it fast and effective, then you definitely have to listen and learn from this amazing woman. So Celine, where are you right now? You're in Arizona, in Sedona, Arizona.
Yes, in a really small village in the middle of the desert. If I drive away here from my porch, it's 2 hours for the next big city. But it's gorgeous here.
That's very interesting. So you moved from Europe, Amsterdam, to Arizona.
Sedona.
Why?
Yeah. So I came on a holiday 2 years ago. There was a retreat here and I visited it and I just fell in love. It was so gorgeous. Arizona is known in America as one of the #1 tourist hotspots. So most people come here to hike and enjoy nature, and the weather is almost always sunny. Today it's raining, but usually it's sunny. There are a lot of red rocks. It's known for red rocks, and that is a lot of people see it as a spiritual place, and that the red rocks carry different energy. And apart from if you believe that, yes or no, it's just a gorgeous place to be in. And yeah, I thought I would like to live here.
Interesting. Yeah, I do believe in energies.
Yeah, I've heard,
Absolutely.
I've listened to one of your earlier podcasts, and I was like, oh yeah, he's totally into that stuff.
Which one did you listen to?
The one with I forgot her name, but with a dialect coach.
Karen Strassman.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, she's really cool. Yeah, she teaches the German accent, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I was, I have a really strong Dutch accent, and it was one of the things that I was a bit nervous about, or still am, and I'm wondering how you do that. But my whole business, I'm an entrepreneur and I sell online courses. My whole business was built in Dutch, and I started it 4 years ago. So all my courses are Dutch and my audience is Dutch. And now moving to the US, I want to have everything in English. And that was one of the things that I'm like, oh man, my dialect. And in America, they love it. The Dutch people are hating on my accent. I don't know if you have that too with your accent. Yeah. It's often the case though that, when you recognize, or when you're insecure about certain things yourself, it's sometimes easier to see that in other people too, and then actually be a little bit mean about it or point it out. And I'm not bothered by it anymore. In the beginning, I was really ashamed of it, and now I'm fine with my accent.
So what happened? Is it like people commented negatively on your accent, like, "Oh, you got a Dutch accent" or something, or
and
was the criticism?
Yeah, well, and it's not that it's like every day, and I don't get bothered too much. But one of the things that I notice, and I'm also wondering how that works for you, but because all my social media is in Dutch and all my followers are Dutch, I made a new TikTok account because TikTok is obviously one of the platforms that is, really useful as an entrepreneur. And as soon as I started making TikToks, the algorithm was pushing that to all Dutch people, but I was doing it in English. And then I got a lot of people who are usually not following me or not really knowing me, but they are Dutch. And then like, hey, you're Dutch. Why do you speak English? It's more kind of that.
Okay. Well, I mean, because you want to... The thing is, because you want to get bigger, right? You want to get a bigger audience, and, the Netherlands is a pretty small country. I mean, it's a very nice country, but it's small. And, I'm in kind of the same situation. Like, people know me fairly well in this industry in Germany, and most of my followers are actually Germans in Germany. So, and it will be a lot easier for me to speak German. especially, for example, for like solo formats. I recently started solo formats, hasn't been published yet, but where I like, unlike here, we are having a conversation. It's all just me speaking about a certain topic. I spoke about goal setting in my last podcast, solo format podcast. And of course, it's pretty difficult because sometimes you're looking for words and then you feel like, okay, I'm interrupted in my flow and what will people say? And okay, I got some criticism. Like I'm kind of the face of my companies, and like my partners were like sometimes like, maybe we should have like someone whose mother language is English be a face of a company, because you know you might be people might not like your accent or something like that, or it might be too hard to understand. And then we asked around and it was like kind of like 50-50. So we asked people like experts or big marketers, because I'm in some masterminds, and they were like 50-50. 50% of them said, hey, yeah, that's cool, no. And 50% were like, oh no, that's too hard for Americans to listen to or whatever.
Oh.
So there's no real official opinion, but there is some great examples for people having made a career, even though they have a really strong accent. For example, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he even made a career in politics. And I assume like his German accent is worse than mine. And it still works. And
and it's actually, so what I realize is that most American people are so used to accents, because American is such a, there's so many different nationalities and there's so many different cultures here. So actually everyone has an accent. And if you're from the southern part of North America, you have a completely different accent than when you're from New York. So it's also that I think in Europe, we're just less used to people having different accents. But it's good. I mean, I think it's a smart choice that you keep on as the head and of the company and for marketing purposes.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, ultimately nowadays a company, in my opinion, has to do a lot of content marketing, because this like traditional advertisement marketing with like models and like advanced settings and graphics doesn't work anymore, because it's everywhere. It's inflationary. It's like there's a hyperinflation of ads and graphical ads and banner ads. So you need to get value to people. You need to give value. And so I think content marketing is the only thing that will work in the future. Just like free giveaways, but like giveaways that are more personal. And I am representing a software company called digistore24.com. We sell online courses and digital products online, or people sell that through our system with affiliates, with the power of affiliate marketing. We do all the affiliate attribution, invoicing, like everything that's like a pain in the ass, and everything technical so that you can focus on your marketing, your products and your services, being a creator, so to speak. But still, I decided to come out like as the face of the company. I want to help people. I want to inspire entrepreneurs. And yeah, that's what this podcast is about. And I think, you can still improve your accent as well. If you don't like it, you can get some training. You can hire a coach, and then there's also like, there's so many accents, like if you speak English people, they have a different accent. And as you said, there's like a lot of, even within the US, there's a lot of, let's say, dialects. And I think a lot of people in the US do not speak English very well. So I often go to Miami. I love this place. But, oftentimes I think, oh, my English is better than a lot of people I meet there.
Yeah, a lot of Spanish influence there, right? Yeah.
And they speak Spanish and they keep speaking Spanish. They don't like focus on English.
No, that's true. I've only been to Miami a couple of times, but I've always heard that, it's actually sometimes more useful there to speak Spanish than it is English. Yeah. Did you buy Bitcoin?
No,
5 years ago? No? Oh, Ethereum. Okay.
No, I did not. And this is that what upset me, Yeah. I was like, okay, I was busy building Digital 24.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I would start, looking into crypto too much, I would be distracted. So I just wanted to keep my focus. I did not want to be distracted because when I'm interested in something, I can get lost in it. And if you like, my company has about 200 employees worldwide. It needs to be kept running very well. So it was like too dangerous for me to distract myself. But at the same time, I regretted it because I could have made so much money there. Did you buy any Bitcoin?
I think, I used to be a journalist and I just bought something, but I bought way too less. I also bought Ethereum and I think I only bought for $200 or $300 at that time or something. So, I mean, at the time I sold it again, it was 5 or 6 times the worth, something like that. But I should have bought way more. I think the thing is that, the buying itself, it's not a lot of time, right? I use most of the time with Coinbase, it's 2 seconds of buying, but it's indeed the research and investing, like, okay, what am I gonna buy? What is this whole culture around it? Where should I go? Where should I store it? Where should I sell it if I want to? That's indeed does cost time. Yeah, I do like to keep up with stuff like that. So also NFTs, I'm really interested in that whole industry.
That's cool. So can you give some advice about all these topics that you just touched, like what to buy and...
Not at all. No, I have no idea.
So,
I think the only... I did buy some NFTs, but they all tanked, I think. It's more that as soon as I hear there's a new technology out, you have this cohort of people who extremely are against it. They go into like, oh, it's not necessary or it's scary or whatever. I do try to always be open-minded, and most of the time I give myself 3 or 4 hours to research a topic. So for instance, I'm really interested in artificial intelligence right now, and all these apps that write for you, and even the funny apps like making your portrait. I think you've seen that, right? That everyone was all of a sudden making.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I got some of those too.
You did? There you go.
Of course.
Yeah, I usually just give myself 3 or 4 hours to dive into it, to understand how it works, to see if I can use it somehow for my business. But I have no NFT tips or something.
Okay, so maybe I can share some of my research. So in general, when it comes to crypto, I would just buy, like, if it's money you don't want to lose, then don't buy the top, buy the dip. The dip is right now. Buy some Ethereum, buy some Bitcoin. That's it. Store it on your, like on a hardware ledger. Don't leave it within big exchanges. You've seen the example of FTX. I don't trust these big exchanges. Not your keys, not your coins. That's that. And Hex is quite interesting. Has a very flamboyant founder. Very interesting guy, Richard Hart. But he looks crazy on social media. But if you listen to him, great guy. I have to say that. So I bought some Hex. And regarding NFTs, I also bought some NFTs just to know about all new technologies. And if you can buy some so quote OGs, and I think they will the price will raise again in a few years. I think they won't be dead, but at the same time, I understand the criticism. Like when people criticize NFTs, I understand it very well because you have a specific, unique NFT and someone has to actually like that. If you have a Bitcoin or an Ethereum, no one cares. Like if you want to sell your Bitcoin, anyone who likes Bitcoin will buy the Bitcoin. If you have a Bored Ape NFT or a CryptoPunk NFT, then you have to find someone who specifically likes this specific NFT artwork thing, and you don't really have rights to that. That's another thing. So I could take anybody's CryptoPunk or anybody's Bored Ape, could use it for myself. No one could suit me really, could sue me. I mean, how so? Like if the company I'm using for that is, for example, in Southeast Asia, like in Vietnam, a Vietnamese company or some try to sue me. It's very hard. So, but still there's some value to it and people pay money for, but it's not the safest way to store money. But if you're an online content creator, if you're an entrepreneur, you should know about this technology and you should know about things that people are interested in. And this is something that people are interested in. Obviously, that's why I keep up with it. I buy some NFTs here and there from quote OGs. Like
OGs.
Yeah, like you know, these there is like NFTs from Justin Aversano or a Bored Ape or a CryptoPunk or Cool Cat or things like that are really established, that are kind of like the Bitcoin of NFTs. And here you are fairly safe. And once crypto goes up in a few years, then I think those things will go up as well. But if you have to, but it's not the safest way to invest money, actually. I have to admit that. So that's that. And why did you study journalism? Like, what motivated you to become a journalist?
So early on, when I was around 21 or 22, I thought, if I go work for a really big company now, I didn't really thought about being an entrepreneur. That wasn't really on my radar. I wasn't raised in a family with entrepreneurs. Nobody in my family had their own business. So I was still thinking in the traditional way of, I'm going to have a great job at a big multinational. And then I thought, well, if I come in and I'm 21 years old and I'm a woman, the influence and the speed of my career will be heavily influenced by my age and by my gender. Instead of, if I'm a journalist and I write for a really good newspaper, I can actually make my own career path. I can interview the smartest people of the Netherlands. I can write articles about the stuff that I'm interested in. So I choose to be a journalist, not really because I was so passionate about bringing the news to the world or something like that. It was more a smart career choice for me to be able to interview a lot of interesting people at a young age. And I would never have that chance in a big company like that.
Oh, that's very interesting. That was like, I wanted to become an entrepreneur. I have parents that did not have any money really, but I became a dentist first for the very same reasons. I figured like, okay, my parents are not rich. I don't have like successful friends in big companies that could help me with my career. So of course I didn't really think about the gender thing, but I thought about my circumstances, so to speak. Because if you, for example, want to make a career in a big company, then you have to have like a very, very clean looking, nice CV, which I don't.
Right.
I don't have a very nice CV. So, you know, I had to repeat some year at school and stuff like that. That's very bad if you want to have a poster child career. So I was like, okay, what can I do at which I do have contacts? And I knew a lot of dentists, sons and daughters. So for some reason, I have like a lot of friends whose parents are dentists. So like, okay, I got contacts there. I didn't have contacts anywhere else. So I was like, I was looking at my network and I was like, okay, a dentist cannot fall very deep. What can happen to a dentist really? I mean, if you study business, if you study law, like you could land at the bottom. You could land as a cashier, nothing bad against cashiers, but you know, you don't study business or law to be a cashier in a grocery shop. But I've seen that in my let's say holiday jobs. I've seen people with university degrees, great grades, like A-level grades, but they landed as a cashier in some grocery shop that I was, you know, counting the inventory at, like as a holiday job. So that really scared me, and I was like, okay. Nothing bad happens to a dentist. A bad dentist, who's a very slow dentist, ends up in a clinic. So a bad dentist is a dentist who cannot handle like 30, 40, 50, 60 patients per day because he or she is too slow, ends up in a clinic. One patient per day is fine because you're kind of in science and whatnot. Nothing bad happens to a dentist, and they're searched and needed everywhere because everyone has teeth. And somewhere in the world, you can always land there, and you can also like work half time and stuff. So it was kind of a security thing, but it was not fun at all. Like being a dentist, not fun at all. Hurts your back, and so then I really wanted to become an entrepreneur because like security here and there, like how does security help you if you don't like your job, if you don't like your work? So I did something else, succeeded there, and I'm really happy about this decision. But I can really relate to your story.
So interesting to hear that you also have this strategy for starting your career. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to play it safe, and I want to, I think business is kind of a chess game. You can only make great moves from great positions.
Right.
And you need to be in the right position to do any good move. So yeah, I figured that would be a good move. But at the end of the day, honestly, I mean, not that I want to cry about it, but it took a lot of years away from, let's say, I could have started a business earlier. That was because I graduated at 28 years of age, had no entrepreneurial experience, had to start there. But I started selling online courses, ebooks, stuff like that, digital content. I started in 2008, and I'm still in this industry. It's a lot of fun. It's very interesting. So how did you actually become an entrepreneur? Like, how did you go from journalist to entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's a story because I think after 7 years of writing for the newspaper, I decided that I wanted to have a little bit more, it's a little bit more exciting stuff in my life. So I started traveling and I went to Dubai. I lived in Bali. I stayed in Japan for a while. So I did the whole digital nomad thing. And then, although it seems really nice on social media, I just got bored by not having a house and I feel a little bit ungrounded and I really wanted to have my roots somewhere. So I came back to Amsterdam and I decided that I really wanted my life to change. At that time, I was making around 8,000 or 9,000 a month as a journalist, but I realized that would never bring me to being a millionaire or, having the amount of money that I easily can live in one of the big houses that I saw at the canal. So I started to envision my life in a completely different way. And I thought, okay, so I have to change everything about myself that so far hasn't really been working or is not working towards the goal of becoming a millionaire. Mm-hmm. And I discovered Tony Robbins. I'm a huge fan of Tony Robbins. I listened to his videos almost 2 or 3 hours a day, and I started doing everything different. And one of the things I did is I rented a really big house on the canals of Amsterdam. And the normal rent in Amsterdam is approximately $1,000 a month. It went up a little bit in the past years, but at that time it would be a lot of money if you would pay $1,500 a month. And I went to a brokerage a realtor. And I asked to go see houses that were all around $3,000 or $5,000 a month in rent. I couldn't pay for that, but I didn't tell them that. And they started showing me houses, and I picked out a house on the canals of Amsterdam. It was gorgeous, really high ceilings and beautiful view of the canal. And I told the realtor at the time, okay, so I'm a really important businesswoman. I have my partner in America. It was all bullshit. And I showed her a website that I really quickly made myself. And I'm like, here, this is what I do. I rent beautiful venues and I rent them out to businesses to have meetings in them. So meeting venues. And it works really successfully in New York and it works really successfully in San Francisco. And me and my business partner want to start one right now in Amsterdam. And she was like, oh, yeah, okay, I can, propose to the owner if that's possible with this venue. The owner was like, okay with it. So we went through and we did all the paperwork. And then that one moment came that she was like, okay, now I need to see your financial, your number. So we are sure that you can actually pay the rent. And at that time, I didn't have anything, of course. And I was like, okay, I can now make up numbers. And I wasn't sure if that was illegal and I could go to jail, or I'm just going to be, coming clean. I'm like, okay, you know what, guys, I actually don't have a business partner in America. I just really want to start a business. And I did the last thing. And the owner was surprised, but he was like, you know what, it's okay. If you think you can. And I paid 6 months rent, in one time. He's like, okay, you can have a chance. You can rent it from me. And I was 29 at that time. And that for the first time that I had such a big venue, and it was such a big thing. And I remember standing in the living room crying out of joy, because I was like, oh my God, I really got the chance now to, start making a business. And then I had to think of how I'm going to literally make it a business. I decided to max out my credit cards. At that time, I didn't have so much money. I bought all the things that I thought you would need for a meeting venue. So I bought couches, whiteboards, chairs, cups, everything to set it up for being a meeting venue. And on LinkedIn, I posted a couple of posts like, hey, you guys, I've got this whole new meeting venue. It looks like a living room. And it looks like a living room because it basically was my living room. I was living in there. And that was the start of how I rented out my own house as a meeting venue. And I think within 2 weeks, I was booked 90%. As a journalist, I of course know how to reach the media. So I contacted the media with like, hey, this is a really different and new kind of business. And I'm new in Amsterdam. You should come over. So I went on television. And yeah, I got really big clients like Apple.com, Booking.com, Microsoft, the government, even the mayor of Amsterdam started renting my venues. And within 1 year, I expanded to 4 venues and a team of 15 people. And that was my first year as an entrepreneur. And then I realized, hey, I'm actually quite good in being an entrepreneur. I know how this works. I didn't know how to do marketing. I love building a business. And then I started giving tips to other entrepreneurs. And I was documenting my whole journey throughout that year, vlogging on Instagram stories. And I've got so many questions of people like, hey, how do you do this? Or how is it possible you're in the media? Or how do you manage a whole team of 15 people? And because I was giving so many tips out there, all of a sudden I was like, hey, you know what? I grew a following of 10,000 people at the time. I can actually sell them my tips. So I can give them my tips and ask money for it. And that's when I created a second company. And that is the company I still have. And that is my online company where I sell courses. And I think as soon as I created my first course and I put it on Instagram, I was like, hey, you guys, you can now buy my course. I only made it $15 at the time. And I immediately in one afternoon made $8,000. I realized, okay, I'm going to get rid of my old business because an online business is so much more profitable. It's so much more interesting. It is, you make something one time and you can sell it 1,000 times. This is the kind of business and the kind of energy I want to be in. And from that moment on, I focused, most on my online business. I grew that company for, in the past years, I made $5 million selling online courses. And I stopped my meeting venue company 2 years ago, something like that. Yeah, in COVID.
You stopped it. So you didn't sell it, you stopped it.
I stopped it. It was, I think in hindsight, I might have tried to sell it at least, but I didn't deem it a really sellable company. One, I stopped it during COVID and the COVID rules were just out there. So meetings were literally prohibited in the Netherlands. You couldn't meet up with more than 2 people. So I was like, well, good luck selling a meeting venue company right now. Second thing, I didn't want to get bothered with, I had, I think, 2 conversations with potential buyers. I reckoned that I could earn maybe $100,000 or maybe $200,000 from selling it. At the same time, I was making $200,000 with just selling, one launch of one of my courses. My last launch that I did was $1.7 million in 1 week. So I'm like, the potential, if I just focus my energy on my new company instead of trying to sell the old company, I thought that my energy was wiser spent in my new company.
That's very impressive. Most
Thank
people,
you.
I mean, I know a lot of people in the online course industry, and most people don't ever, within years, ever get to these kinds of numbers. So that was in Dutch language, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Impressive. So
Thank you.
that's very impressive. So obviously you knew how to get followers, how to market yourself. And how long is that ago?
I started 4 years ago. Now,
Four
I was
years ago.
really, really shy. As a journalist, I was used to always be the person, behind my pen and paper, right? I would never
Yeah.
be on camera. And I think just the desire when I started that company with meeting venues, just the desire to sell the meeting venues. I was like, okay, I need to go on Instagram right now. I need to promote my meeting venues. And
Mm.
that's also when I thought, okay, the best way to promote stuff, and I still believe that, and you mentioned that in the beginning of our conversation, is when people trust you and when you're a likable personal brand, when people are engaged in your story and your journey in life, they're probably gonna buy all your stuff because, they feel like they know you, you're their friend. So me promoting my business wasn't like I see a lot of people do, like, oh, hey, hire my meeting venue. Like that is a really, I would say, almost cold sales. You try to get
Mm.
people interested in something that they're not really interested in. But when I was taking them on my journey of, hey, I'm trying to fill up my meeting venues and I'm a bit nervous because I've got a client coming and I'm now, getting
Mm.
fresh flowers for the room. And here I'm going to go to the bakery and get some nice stuff to,
Mm.
to give. Then people are still, remembering that you have fresh flowers and that you
Mm.
have those nice bakery stuff. But they don't perceive it as sales that much. So that's what
Mm.
I always teach now. And one of my courses is about how to vlog on Instagram and how to, make stories and stuff like that. Document your life instead of selling your life. And it's
Mm-hmm.
by documenting, you're selling it actually at the same time.
I see. So, how would you approach, like, if someone wants to start like an online business, selling online courses and stuff like that? What would be your marketing approach? Okay, you would, like, let's say, document your daily life, basically.
Well, usually
Which
when somebody,
channels do you use?
yeah, I think Instagram is great. TikTok is amazing. Those
Mm.
two platforms right now will have, you have the biggest chance of getting a lot of eyes on your
Mm-hmm.
content if you go viral. It's a little bit harder with YouTube if you don't have a direct, if you're not really well known yet.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time when you want to create an online course, you have to have some knowledge or some journey or interested in the subject you want to have an online course about, right? So for instance, let's say that you want to give an online course about for women, how your hormones work in your body, something like that.
Yeah.
The best way to start selling a course about that is first take people with you in your own life. For instance, oh, here I'm drinking my coffee. I'm actually not drinking with caffeine because that will, mix up my hormones. So I'm drinking decaf.
Mm-hmm.
Next story is about, oh, I always make sure that I eat this, supplement because it's really good for this or that. So you're educating them, but not in a really annoying way. You're just showing them how you live your life so that
Mm-hmm.
people who feel like, oh, I want to have the life that she has. She doesn't have acne or she doesn't, I don't know, she isn't not in menopause yet. So I want to do whatever she is doing. And because they
Mm-hmm.
feel that they like you and they know you, they're more interested in buying your course.
Okay, I understand that. That's cool. What do you say about, you have to also package everything in a certain way. You have to choose the right platform. So you would say Instagram and TikTok. I know that for those platforms, videos, short form videos, like 1 minute videos are the thing.
Right.
And how do you approach making these videos? Because a lot of people, they rely on stunts. my most famous favorite example is Liver King. I think he's such a great marketable combination of, do you know Liver King?
No.
Oh, he's such an interesting figure. He basically sells the idea of ancestral health, ancestral lifestyle. So he has a big beard and he's very muscular and he, eats raw meat and he hunts animals and eats raw meat and organs and stuff like that. So it's very entertaining and he does a lot of stunts. Like he eats, I don't know, raw testicles or 50 raw eggs or so in front of the camera, but he also has let's say nice, health tips which are pretty cool, and you see him work out, and like he's a very wild man. He grew like within 1 year to millions of followers and stuff like that.
I can imagine 50 raw
totally.
eggs.
Yeah, he does a lot of stunts, so he combines good knowledge and education with a crazy look, like he looks like an action figure, and I like to say that we're in the age of comic figures. He looks like a comic figure, and he does a lot of stunts with weapons, and he hunts animals, like a lot of crazy stuff. So what he posts,
what is my tip? I would do exactly the same. I think one of my courses is about, obviously, how to create a course and how to sell your course. You have to start small, and I think the one thing that people already have to understand when they start is that every platform has its own style, its own kind of way of, almost its own language. Even if you go on TikTok, there are these viral videos who all have the same jokes or all have the same kind of rhythm in the videos. So there's a huge part of when you want to start on social media and you have no idea where to start, is first like listen. And by listening, it's literally viewing, of course, with social media. So when I start to understand the platform, and it's the same with Instagram, I started to set an alarm and spend 2 hours a day just browsing through Instagram, just seeing what kind of people are doing a little bit the same as what I'm gonna do. How do they do it? What are the different styles there are there? Because the algorithm also, when you for instance, when you like the weapons, egg eating guy, you probably see a lot of people doing those kind of things because the algorithm noticed, hey, he likes that, so I'm going to show him more. But if you're a 13-year-old girl and you're on the platform and you love dancing videos, you only see dancing videos. So you have to train yourself and the algorithm to not be scared of the things you see and like, oh God, I need to, dance with weapons right now. No, you just have to type in names of people you'll find interesting and see what they are doing and trying to teach the algorithm what it is that you want to see when you open the app. So I would say 2 hours of learning, just listening, watching, viewing. And then the second thing you need to learn is how to find your own voice. And most people are so scared and so disappointed by their own voice on social media because, and I'm not talking about your actually voice, but I'm talking about the way that you present yourself. And they're like, it doesn't feel like me. It feels, it feels so fake, or it feels so weird, or like a wannabe. And I always tell them, this is your online persona. She's just born. So she has no idea yet how to grow into the persona you're going to be in a year, but you just have to give her time and experiment. So for some people, I say, okay, try to make stories that are more educational. So give a tip here and there. Try to make more stories that you do something fun. Try to make a joke on Instagram. So try to find your voice by experimenting a lot. And that is most of the time done by just copying what you see and what you find funny or what you find inspirational of other people. And then after, I want to say 8 weeks, you're probably going to be dialing in your own tone of voice and your own style on social media. And that's when it starts getting good. But those first 8 weeks are going to be awkward.
I see. Isn't it really hard to gain followers nowadays? This is also like you have to know something about the algorithm. Do you study the algorithm and do you figure out like...
Well, nobody really knows the algorithm so well, right? Like some people blow up with one video and they make several accounts and then the one account blows up and the other account with exactly the same video doesn't blow up. So it's the algorithm isn't really clear. So I just don't really mind the algorithm. I feel and that's my philosophy as an entrepreneur anyway, it's all about skills. It's about developing skills. And if you're too busy trying to control things that are out of your control, like the algorithm, you end up being worried all the time. While if you focus on your own skills, those are in your control. Like, how do I speak on camera? How do I smile on camera? How do I articulate a point a little bit better? How can I, embrace storytelling in my vlogs? Those are the things you can do. And the more you improve that and the more you work on that, the better. When the algorithm is in your favor, the quicker you will grow.
I see. And do you what's your current strategy? Like, what's your vision? Where do you want to be in, let's say, 5 years? You have built, the first company, you've built the second company, which is obviously very successful. So you're teaching people how to do business, how to build a business. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
So that's a question I never really answer on. And I get that question all the time, almost
Really?
6 or 7 times a week. I believe in, and it's very contradictory to what most people feel, but I believe in holding your own goals and your vision for life, not really ventilating it too much. And one of the things why I do that is I sometimes lose my enthusiasm when I start talking about my goals, because it almost feels like I'm already, at those goals. So if I'm telling you right now, like, oh, what I'm gonna create this or that course and I'm gonna do it like this and that and that, I rather surprise people by what I did than that I, spell it out in front. I just lose my enthusiasm.
This is interesting. Sorry to interrupt you. This is interesting because I've listened recently to a podcast that Andrew Huberman did. And he said exactly this. He said, if you think about, like, he was like, quote, he didn't want to offend the law of attraction people too much. But if you, like, even with your own thoughts towards yourself, if you, in your own thoughts, experience your goals too much already, then you will have a drop of your dopamine level. It will not excite you as much if you like pretend towards yourself, like if you think too much about those goals. And it's very interesting. So his motivational tip actually was not to talk and not to think about your goals too much. He advised to think more about the scenarios in which you don't reach your goals, and to be rather propelled by, let's say, the pain of not reaching your goals, the pain of not attaining them, as opposed to the vision of your goals, which was a very interesting point. And it just reminded me, like what you just said reminded me of that.
Well, yeah, I think I didn't hear him say that, but that dopamine hit thing, I can totally relate to that, because the dopamine you feel by telling something and other people are responding to it, that is actually the reaction that I want when it's all done, like when I manifested that or when I created that. And I think the other reason why I sometimes hesitate to talk about my plans or be really open about it is sometimes the reactions of people, and they mean it in the most loving way, but they can put you off your own path and your own journey. For instance, what if I tell you right now that in 2 years I want to open like a certain hospital for babies or blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, interesting. That actually exists already. But, they went under because blah, 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 blah. And then a little part of my enthusiasm for my plan and my own passion is kind of crumbled away, because now I have to defend my plan, or now I have to see that other people are doing it, and I might feel more doubt about my abilities. And that whole scenario that other people are responding on whatever I want to create, I just avoid that by not talking about it and just do it.
Okay, so basically you need a good strategy to deal with other people's opinions, because they might affect you.
You could, but you can also just completely avoid that by not saying it. And I'm not saying that, oh man, I'm so sensitive, so I can't handle people's feedback. I follow, I have 25,000 people commenting on my stories every day on Instagram. So I'm not, it's not that I'm too sensitive for it. I just believe in holding your energy nearby yourself. And instead of always, and that a lot of people are in that mode that they're always trying to defend themselves or trying to, set their boundaries. I always feel you can make it easier for yourself by just not giving other people the opportunity to cross boundaries.
That's cool. Yeah, at least, let's say on social, I can relate to that in a way. At least on social media, I tend to only show things that I have done. Like, for example, okay, I would say I want to look good next summer on the beach. I would say that, but it's not a specific goal. It's like some general statement. And if I did something, I would post the things I did. Let's say, I was in India a few months ago, and there was like no gym at that place and stuff. So I did hundreds of burpees every day. And I would never say, I'm planning on doing burpees. Never said that. I was just like, okay, I just did 220 burpees. That's it. Made a selfie, posted it, and that's it. So I felt like it would be more comfortable for me to just present results and not, tell anyone about. Because for me, I also did not really have a goal there. I just wanted to be a fit guy and be active. That's it, basically. Just like without any specific goal in mind or so. So yeah, that's good. On the other hand, however, I think if you talk about your goals, then people might proactively want to help you with that. Like, for example, hey, I have contacts in this. Let's say you want to open a ski place in Antarctica, for example. Then, you need contacts for that. You cannot do it on your own. So then someone might come and say, hey, I have friends who have a base in Antarctica and I can connect you with them or something like that. So it could be also beneficial for you to talk about stuff. Yeah. Or, like.
That is true.
It's plus and minus, but I get your point. I think a lot of people are, they feel pressured by your goals and they want to talk you out of it, and they might mean well, or you might not like the reaction. If you said, the example with the baby hospital, and I could be like, yeah, great. Something like that. And it could be, of course. I mean, especially online, there's a lot of judgment. But speaking of energies, you publicly stated that you went to this ayahuasca place, Rhythmia. Why did you go there, and what did you experience there?
Oh, yeah, Rhythmia. So Rhythmia is a resort in Costa Rica, and it's a place to drink plant medicine. And plant medicine, for everyone who is not really familiar with it, is I want to say conscious altering substance. It's called a tea. It wasn't really, I thought it was like a hot, nice tea, but it's just a really cold and extremely disgusting plant root drink. You drink it to get insight in your own consciousness. And a lot of people do it for therapy reasons, spiritual reasons. They say it's, one night of drinking ayahuasca is a little bit the same as 10 years of therapy. And I visited Rhythmia for the first time 2 years ago. I was a little bit stuck in my business. I didn't really know what to do. I was a little bit bored by it, and I thought it's time for me. I love self-development and I love therapy, and I thought it's time for me to try something like that. I never ever use drugs or do anything in that order. So it was the first time ever. I never smoked a cigarette even, and I don't drink at all in my life. So like maybe once a month I drink. So it was very, very out of the ordinary for me to go there. But I loved it. It's one of the most famous places, I think, in the world to drink ayahuasca. A lot of celebrities from the US go there, a lot of influencers. They have a really great marketing team. So it's really well set up. And that was one of the things why I wanted to go to Rhythmia. It's a little bit more fancy than the usual you drink in the jungle of Peru with a shaman.
Yeah. Which I did.
Yeah, you did? Wow. Yeah. I wouldn't, I love luxury in that way. I couldn't do that. Did you like it?
For me, the whole experience was mainly just physical. So I did not somehow. I think I did I did it wrong somehow because for me it was just a physical experience. For me it was just like vomiting all night. But maybe that was the therapy that I needed.
Yeah, I
So
don't think
I
you do it wrong. I think that was just indeed what you needed. And sometimes they say that you can't, let go of control if you only feel physical. But I do feel that maybe that's just the whole lesson of the whole experience.
Yeah, I
Huh.
believe that emotions are stored in your body, and if you vomit a lot, then maybe some bad emotions will leave you.
Right.
And I think stored emotions create a sickness in you. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that might have cured me in some subconscious way, but I cannot say that I'm any enlightened or, that I have a higher consciousness. But I would say I just did the work. I went through it. It was very brave because it was very tough, and I had a lot of respect for it. It's not a fun trip or anything. It's not. It's not like you're popping a pill of ecstasy and having fun. No, it's not, it's therapy. It's really you have an experience. Might be good, might be bad. A lot of people cry. A lot of people vomit. It's really hard. It goes for a few hours, but then you kind of feel relieved.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for in the resort where I went to, you drink for 4 nights in a row.
Yeah.
Um, so it's pretty heavy. You start drinking it at 7, and it takes I think 30 or 40 minutes for it to start working. And then most people see visions. Most people, it's a little bit the same as if you're on a heavy drugs, I guess. So, but yeah, it was insightful, and I really liked it.
Yes, I mean, a lot of people actually, they get rid of addictions. There's a lot of people who go there who are addicted to other types of drugs. And I cannot put them in the same category with plant medicine or ayahuasca, because ayahuasca is really, in my opinion, a medicine. So it's for therapeutical purposes, whereas
Yeah.
like recreational drugs like cocaine or alcohol are more for fun. So there's a lot of cases in which people that are addicted to some kind of recreational drug get rid of their addiction by using ayahuasca. It's
Yeah.
very powerful. It's magical almost. And so for that purpose, I can really recommend it. It if you think that in your subconscious mind something is wrong and you might be too addicted to stuff that's not good for you, this I think most of the time will help you. But it's hard, it's tough, it's uncomfortable, and it's really cool that there's a place like Arrhythmia in which you can like at least have it quite comfortable.
Right. I think what it does in a way, and it might be different for certain people, but for instance, if you're addicted to something, there's always this underlying trauma or reason that you're addicted, right? And it might
Yeah.
have been something from your childhood. And what ayahuasca does, somehow it unlocks memories, it unlocks
Mm.
experiences, and it unlocks feelings in you. So when you're allowed to feel all these feelings, and that's the reason why you're, for instance, drinking too much, and you start realizing why you're drinking and what it costs you, like, and what it's, why your life is stuck in this way. And then you come out of the experience knowing a better way to live your life. And I do think that ayahuasca and plant medicine, it's a guide. So you still have to do the work afterwards. You still have to integrate the lessons. You still have to choose in your daily life, like, hey, I don't want to drink anymore. And I don't want to drink anymore because I saw in ayahuasca why I'm drinking and what it is costing me in my life to be, drunk all the time. So I think there's still a lot of personal development work to be done after drinking. I don't think it's a magical cure for each and every one. But it's certainly very insightful and yeah, I think very powerful. But you should I always try to, I made podcasts about this and stuff. And I always, consult with your doctor because, for instance, if you have certain illnesses in your family, it's not a wise idea. It's not for everyone, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always it's always good to be informed, and you have to have an kind of an idea what's ahead of you and what
Right.
it is for and when you should avoid it, etc. I think, yeah, it's a huge thing for your psyche. And I mean, I just know people with good experiences. I don't know of any with bad experiences, but still, you got to be careful, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, like as last question, what would be like for a starting entrepreneur? What would be your best tip if someone wants to start a business, particularly online business, to make the first steps successfully?
So there's this contradicting, no, there's this belief, and I'm not really subscribing to it. And that is that if you want to start your business, you have to find your biggest passion to do.
Yeah.
So, and if you haven't found your passion, you haven't found the golden idea to make money, then you just have to keep searching for that golden idea. One of my biggest tips for people who want to be an entrepreneur is start any business. Even if you're selling phone covers, even if you're going door to door and trying to sell, I don't know, Bibles. Start something that teaches you the skills as an entrepreneur. Tell yourself, this is just for a year. I'm just trying to understand how entrepreneurship works. I'm trying to build my own website. I'm trying to market myself by social media. I'm trying to learn how to deal with rejection. Like, there's so many things as an entrepreneur that you have to learn, so many skills, and you can learn that with any business. And instead of trying to start a business that you're so passionate about, that you're afraid to fail every time, like, oh no, but my whole life I wanted to be an artist and now I have to do it really well. Otherwise, my whole dream goes away. It's way easier to make all those mistakes and shift your mindset with a business that you don't really care about. And when I look at my own journey and starting those meeting venues, that wasn't a business I'm really passionate about. It wasn't that I felt that I was put on earth to, rent out meeting venues, but it taught me all the skills that made my second business, my course business, hugely successful, and that I could all of a sudden make $1 million in a year. So I could have never done that without that first business. And even now, I'm not sure if I'm gonna teach classes online for the rest of my life, or if it's my biggest passion. I might change my mind and in 2 years I want to do something else, but I will gain all the experience that I gained in this business, I will bring to my next business. And I think that's a way healthier and way smarter way of thinking if you want to start a business than that you're too stuck on finding that golden idea.
That's very cool advice. Thank you. I mean, that's a great piece of advice. I've talked to someone who has a startup school, and he says exactly the same thing. He says two things that don't really have a place in business, especially when you're starting a business. A, passion, and B, creativity. Because you should just take a business model that actually works and actually implement it. You should not be worried about how passionate you are, because there's a lot of things in any business that you won't be passionate for.
Right.
So I mean, there's so many things. I mean, if you might like some part of it, but there's a lot of parts which you might not like. For example, managing people, hiring people, bookkeeping, etc., taxes. This is all part of all businesses. No, even if you have a bookstore or something, you still have to deal with those. And if you just buy into the general idea of it must be so fun that I'm passionate about, then you might fail. So it's thank you. That's really great advice. So if someone wants to learn more from you, wants to follow you, wants to contact you, how can they reach you the best?
The best is my Instagram. So my name is Celine Charlotte, also on Instagram. And Celine, it's like Celine de Jong. And Charlotte is, well, for German people, it's pretty easy, right? It's a German name too, Charlotte.
Yeah, Charlotte.
So Celine Charlotte on Instagram. And, I have all the usual stuff, newsletter and YouTube channel and all of that. But the Instagram is by far the most interesting right now.
All right. Thank you so much, Celine. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and never miss an episode of Svencast again.